The video you're about to watch is a preview from one of my fashion design courses available online at Fashion Premier Academy. Okay, in this lesson I'm going to show you how to draft a cuff, and as well as this opening right here and some pleats. We'll talk about pleats. So let's do it. Okay, so let's draft a cuff. I will make mine a 2-inch cuff, although you could have a 1-inch cuff, 2-inch cuff, 3, whatever measurement you'd like. There's no set measurements. So it'll be a 2-inch by 9-inch. If I measure my cuff, this is a 9-inch cuff. And if you look at your shirts, your husband's shirts, your boyfriend's shirts, chances are 9 inches is about the standard measurement for a cuff, but that could vary. So here's a simple, very simple, small piece of paper. We're going to draw a gradient line in the middle, and we're going to fold that paper in half, crease it on the center, and that will be the end of my cuff. It'll be the fold line. And like I said, it'll be a 2-inch cuff, so from the fold line, I'm going to measure 2-inch, and we'll make it a 9-inch cuff. So from one side, going to draw a line across. I'm going to measure 9-inch, which is right here. Okay, and then the last thing to do is to add seam allowance on the side. We're going to add a 1/4 inch seam allowance, like so, and this side as well. And where the cuff gets sewn to the sleeve, okay, right here, that will be a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Right, and then it's a matter of transferring this information to the other side, and or you can just simply cut it, and you have a cuff. And there's your cuff. Okay, so let's go back to this sleeve that we just finished, where we added the fullness at the wrist level, at the bottom here. So we're gonna do a few things here all at once. First of all sleeves have an opening. So I'm gonna show you how to create an opening on the sleeve and where it goes on the pattern. Number one. Number two, okay, we have to figure out how do we take 11 inches and make it fit into my cuff, which is 9 inches. How do we get 11 inches to fit into 9 inches of the cuff? And thirdly is, if this is the length of my sleeve and this is my wrist level, and I add 2 inches to my existing sleeve, my sleeve is gonna look like this. You know, it's gonna be extra long, right? So we have to subtract something from the sleeve, a number from the sleeve, so that when you sew the cuff to the sleeve, it'll fit correctly. So all those 3 things have to be done somewhat at the same time. Okay, so let's start by subtracting a certain amount from the bottom of the sleeve. Now, normally you would say, well, if this is a 2-inch cuff, I'll subtract 2 inches from the bottom of the sleeve. Well, not quite. If this is a 2-inch cuff, we're going to subtract 1.5 inches. We're going to leave a 1/2 inch for ease, so it's not so tight, right? So I'm going to subtract 1.5 inches from the bottom of the sleeve. So measure up 1.5 inches. Okay, I'm gonna cut this off, and this will be my new wrist level, so to speak, right? Okay, so I have removed 1.5 inches from the bottom of the sleeve. I'm going to cut this sleeve out so we don't get confused. I'm just going to cut the sleeve out right now. Okay, so we said that we have an opening. All sleeves have an opening. The opening can be a tab. This is known as a tab. Or it could be a piece of bias binding to clean finish the edge. So the opening goes in the back section of the sleeve. Again, this is the front section, this is the back section, right? Front, back. So if you take your sleeve and you divide it into 4 equal parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You take your sleeve, you divide it in half, and then you take this back and you divide that in half simply by folding one side over the underarm into the center of the sleeve, and you slightly crease it like this. That's where the opening goes. And it's usually 3-4 inches, so I'm gonna measure from the edge here. I'm gonna measure 1, 2, 3, and that is the opening of the sleeve. And you literally cut the pattern of the sleeve. So there's the opening, okay? Okay, the last thing to do is to take this 11-inch sleeve and make it fit into a 9-inch cuff. How do we do that? Ta-da! Pleats. These are pleats. Now this shirt happens to have 2 pleats, but you can have 1 or 2 or 3 pleats. So let me explain. All right, so this is 11 and this is 9. So 11 minus 9 is 2. So there's an extra 2-inch of fabric, if you will, in here. So I'm going to take that 2-inch and turn it into a pleat. So from the opening, I'm going to measure in 1 inch or so, and then measure 2 inches. Okay, 2 inches is right here. And this will be my pleat. So I'm going to fold it. I'm going to show you kind of how it will look when it's all sewn together. Right? This is what a pleat looks like. See that? I'm just going to pin it real quick to show you what it would look like when it's all sewn together. There's your pleat. And so now my sleeve matches my cuff. Ta-da! There you go. That's how it works. And the last thing to mark on the cuff is a buttonhole and a button. So one side gets the buttonhole, right? And the other side gets the button. Buttonholes and buttons are covered in my pattern 3 class. So check it out, as well as piping and bias binding. How to apply bias binding, like this, for example, not just on sleeves, but on necklines and cuffs and hems and princess seams and so on. You're probably wondering, wait a minute, this is pink and this is blue, and if this is the fold right here, how can this be pink and blue? Well, very simple. Really, all you have to do is separate. You can cut this line right here on the fold, separate the 2 pieces, add seam allowance, of course, and you can cut one in pink fabric and one in blue fabric, and then sew it back together. It's that simple. Okay? There you have it. Thank you for watching this video. Check out all the courses available at Fashion Premier Academy by clicking the link below. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so that you will be notified when I post new videos, which is every week.
I'll see you in class.